In this video, we are going to learn how to grant and revoke privileges in MySQL. Now, whenever a user is created, all the privileges are granted to it. But we can grant some of the privileges if we want, and even we can revoke some privileges from a user as well. Okay, so let's learn these two things: how to grant privileges and how to revoke. So first, let's learn grant statement. To grant privileges to a user account, grant statement is used. So you have to make use of this grant statement. The syntax is very easy. Use the keyword grants, then privileges names, whatever privileges that you want to assign. Now we will learn what all privileges can be assigned to a user, but you can just pass all the privileges and you can separate them by a comma. On, this is a keyword on object. Now your object is called, object is nothing but a table. You have to specify the table name, on what all tables you want to specify those privileges to the user. Okay, so you can, if you want to pass all the tables, you can by just separating them with a comma. Okay, so it's up to you. Then we use a keyword to user, means the username. Okay, so I want to grant all these privileges to this users for these tables, whatever tables that I have specified. Okay, so the privileges names, these are the access rights or privileges granted to the user. So we will be learning what all privileges can be assigned. Then the second is object. It is the name of the database object to which permissions are being granted. In case of granting privileges on a table, this would be a table name. Okay, so if you want to grant privileges for a table, so you can just specify the table names, whatever table names that you want to specify. Then user, it is the name of the user to whom the privileges would be granted. Okay, so this is how the syntax is. So these are the privileges that can be assigned to a user. The privileges that can be granted to the users are listed below along with their description. So this is the description and this is the privilege name. So the first is select. Select statements on tables. Now there are several statements in SQL that we have to study. I know we haven't studied them, but I will just give you a short introduction about these statements. Select statements are used to fetch data. Okay, whenever you want to select or fetch some data from the table, you make use of select state. Okay. Second is insert. If you want to insert some data into the table, you make use of insert statement. Delete. Whenever you want to delete something from a table, you can make use of this delete. You can delete data or anything, delete a row or anything. Okay. Then create. If you want to create a table, you can make use of this create statement. Drop. When you want to delete a table completely or delete a database, you can make use of this drop statement. Okay, it will delete the entire database or entire table. All privileges means your grant all permissions except for grant option. Now if you specify privilege as all, means all these privileges will be granted to the user except for grant option. The one who has the grant option can only grant privileges to others. Okay, so if you use all, you are granting all permissions to the user except for grant option. Then we have update. Update is used whenever you want to update some data in your table. Okay, at that time you can make use of this. And then at last we have grant. Allows to grant privileges. Okay, so the one who has this grant privilege can grant privileges to other users. So these are the these are the privileges that can be granted to a user. Okay. So now let's go to PHP MyAdmin and I will just show you 2-3 examples. Firstly, we will see select statement, then drop, and maybe then grant. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I am in my PHP MyAdmin and I am in the database called test database. Now the first thing now that I will do is I will create a table because I am now granting privileges to the users on table, on a specific table. So first I will create a table. Now in order to create a table, we make use of the statement create table followed by the table name. Now in this case, I am keeping the name as users, and inside the brackets you just have to write the column names, what all columns should be there. So first column will be the username and it is varchar. Okay, now varchar is nothing but string. In MySQL there is a data type. This is a data type called varchar, means string. In programming languages we use the keyword string, and in MySQL we use varchar. Then the second column would be email, and even this will be varchar. I will just give it 50, size is 50. Okay, so I'm basically creating a table which has two columns. First column is username and second is email. So I'll just click on go. So the table will be created. Okay, so table has been created, and even here you can see on the left hand side, inside this database, test database, we have a table called users. Okay, so now what I will do is inside this database, I will first create a user. First, let's create a user and grant him some permissions. So I will create a user. Let's create user. If not exist, we know why we use these clause, and then followed by the name. Account name, let's keep it as Kevin. I'll just create a user with the name Kevin, and host name is localhost. Our identified by password would be, let's keep it Kevin for now. It's simple. Okay, so I'm creating a user with a username Kevin and password Kevin. So I'll just okay. Now here one thing to note. Here all the privileges have been granted to the user Kevin because I haven't specified any privileges yet. Means I haven't specified, that means all the privileges will be granted. So here what I'm doing is I'm creating a user with username Kevin and password Kevin. Okay, so we'll just see. Now all the privileges have been granted because I haven't specified any privileges yet. So means all the privileges will be granted to the username Kevin. So what I will do is I will just run this query. Okay, so a user has been created with username Kevin and password Kevin. Now what I will do is I will grant some permission to it. Let's say I will say grant. I'm only saying select on users to Kevin at the rate local host. Okay. So what I'm saying is I'm granting this privilege select to Kevin on users, means only it will be applicable for this table. Okay, if you want to specify more than two tables you can, but let's say if I have 100 tables in my database, then I can't write 100 tables separated by comma. So in that case what I can do is I can say db dot star. That means all the tables, it will be applicable to all the tables that are present inside this database. Means I am granting this privilege to Kevin and it will be applicable on all the tables that are present in this database. So I will just run this query and let's see what output we get. Okay. So it has been successfully executed now. Now what I will do is I will say show grants for Kevin at the rate localhost. So what I'm saying is whatever privileges have been granted to Kevin, just show me. I just want to see what all privileges have been granted to Kevin. So I'm just executing this query. So I will be able to see. Okay. So here, as you can see, these are the privileges that have been granted to Kevin. Grant select on DB, and so this is the privilege that has been granted to Kevin. Select. Okay. Even we can grant all the privileges. So in that case, what I can do is grant all. I have to make use of all, as I showed you in the PPT as well. All. This is a privilege. We have used select. You can use insert, delete, create, drop. I'm not going to show each and every one. Let's see all and then we will move further. I'm just saying grant all on db dot star to Kevin at the rate localhost. Okay. Means I'm granting all the privileges except for this grant privilege. Okay. Means it will grant all permissions except for the grant option. Okay. So I'll just say go. Okay. So it has been successfully executed. So now I can just see what all grants, what all privileges have been granted to Kevin for Kevin at the rate localhost. And I'll just run this. So as you can see here, we have grant all privileges. That means all the privileges have been granted to Kevin. Okay. So in this way, you can enter, you can grant all the privileges or you can grant few privileges. It depends on the type of employee. Okay. So now let's see how to revoke privileges. Now we have already seen how to grant them. Now let's see how to revoke them. The revoke statement is used to revoke some or all the privileges which have been granted to a user in the past. So let's say now I have granted all the privileges to Kevin except for the grant option. Now I want to revoke all of the privileges or some of the privileges which I have granted to Kevin. So I can make use of the statement revoke. Syntax is keyword revoke, then we have privileges. For what all privileges you want to revoke. Then we have a keyword on followed by the object, means the table name. Let's say example, if we can pass table name from, keyword from. In this case we are using the keyword from, and user. What is the username? Object, it is the name of the database object from which permissions are being revoked. In the case of revoking privileges from a table, this would be the table name. Okay. And user, it is the name of the user from whom privileges are being revoked. Okay. So now let's go to PHP MyAdmin and I will just revoke all the privileges that have been granted to Kevin. So I will just say revoke all. All means all the privileges on db dot star, means all the tables it is applicable, from Kevin at the rate localhost. So I'm revoking all the privileges that have been granted to Kevin. So I will just run this. Okay. So the query has been successfully executed. Now I will just We'll run the query show grants for Kevin at the rate localhost. So let's see what do we get. Okay, so as you can see, there are no privileges that have been granted to Kevin. I cannot see any privilege, that because I have revoked all the privilege. Okay, so this is how you can revoke all the privileges or some of its privileges. Okay, so I will again show you. Let's grant all the privileges to, or maybe we will grant two or three. Let's say I'm granting select, then comma, insert, and update. Okay, I'm just granting these three privileges which is applicable for all the tables. I will just say dot star to username is Kevin at the rate localhost. So these three privileges will be granted to Kevin. Okay, so I'll just run this. Okay, this. Okay. So now what I will do is I'll just see those privileges. Show grants for Kevin at the rate local. I'll just run this. Okay. So grant, select, insert, update. Okay, so these three privileges have been granted to Kevin. Now I will revoke only one. Let's revoke the update one. So what I will do, I will revoke that privilege that has granted to Kevin. So what I will say is revoke update on db dot star from at the rate post. So I'm just revoking one privilege called update from Kevin. I'll just run this. Okay. Okay, so the query has successfully executed. Now I will just see the grants. Show grants for Kevin at the rate host. Okay. So now we will only get to see select and update. Okay, so grant, select, insert. So only he can select, means he can fetch the data and insert the data. He cannot update, delete, drop. Okay. So this is how you can grant permissions, you can grant privileges, and you can revoke privilege. Okay. So this is all for today's video. Thank you.